From our free daily newsletter, the latest from podnews.net with Spots Now. The world's funniest podcast festival returns this October. Cheerful Earful will be in London, Brighton, Edinburgh, Melbourne, Dublin and New York from September the 28th to October the 28th, with the largest lineup in the festival's history. We link to all of the details from our show notes and our newsletter at podnews.net. We also link to a new article from Losh Moodley. Is video the future for podcasting? Well, it depends, she says, in a story about the hidden economics of the price of visibility, which mean you might consider calculating your own video threshold. When does it make sense to add video so that it starts funding itself?
Professor Thomas Seyfried, what is it that you've committed your life to doing, Thomas?
In December 2024, the BBC World Service ran an investigation on harmful health misinformation on Stephen Bartlett's podcast, Diary of a CEO, focusing on claims by Thomas Seyfried. Private Eye reports that Flight Story's Diary of a CEO has welcomed Thomas Seyfried back in an episode released on July the 16th, which also acts as a fundraiser for Seyfried's work. Seyfried claims that chemotherapy and radiotherapy are little better than medieval quackery, and the real way to beat cancer is a ketogenic diet. Claims that have no scientific evidence and that could significantly harm listeners if they followed them without real medical advice. Now, Bartlett quietly announced on-screen fact-checking in November 2025, but these notes are invisible to audio listeners, and there's no link to any document in the podcast episode notes. In the YouTube video, there is a link marked Independent Fact Check, but it's truncated and doesn't work. An article in the Sunday Times yesterday noted that his show is nearing the size of Joe Rogan's. Flight Story's PR company told us that Stephen Bartlett's Diary of a CEO recorded 86 million views in May, roughly 3 times the 35 million logged by Joe Rogan's podcast in the same period. Diary of a CEO also added over 1 million new subscribers during that window, while Rogan stayed flat. There's also a paid article today by Nick Hilton in today's iPaper titled How Stephen Bartlett Fooled the World, which highlights recent guests, queries his continued establishment approval, and notes that Bartlett has curiously turned comments off for his podcast on Spotify. The APAs from Audio UK have announced that they've teamed up with Amazon Music to offer free or discounted entry to the awards for those who would otherwise be unable to take part due to financial constraints. Fountain has added support for Apple Podcasts Video. The podcast hosting company also supports the alternate enclosure, so other podcast apps can also access your video, including Fountain's app. Spotify and YouTube are coming soon. The Pro plan adds video at no extra cost. Looking for a decent teleprompter for your Mac? There are plenty which attract monthly fees or require access to your microphone or something, but Eyes Forward is a simple tool with a one-off payment of $1.99. You can buy it in the Mac App Store. Audio Flux has opened Circuit 8, looking for bite-sized audio stories about unexpected conversations, close-to-home discoveries, and the people who quietly shape our lives. The theme is confection. It's free to enter, and your work could be shared at Transom, Transmitter Audio Art Festival, and Resonate in Richmond, Virginia. The UK's Goalhanger has made a short documentary about the company's history and the filming of The Rest is Football in New York. And Blueberry's Mike Dell writes about 21 years of podcasting and, quote, the thing I don't want us to lose. In it, he comments on the AMP Accords, saying better analytics could certainly be useful, but requiring podcast applications to provide increasingly detailed client-side listener information changes the relationship between podcasters and their audiences. It's a Monday, so time for some tech stuff, and after a gap of almost 9 years, the LAME project, which encodes MP3s, is now up to version 4.0. There's a technical reason for the bump to version 4 though, and it's not a major release. After it reached 3.100, the version number was too long to fit in an ID3 tag. Still, the software continues being updated and 4.1 is currently being worked on. Want your podcast to sound as if it's been recorded on a cassette with hiss and wow and flutter? A cassette simulation works with FFmpeg to do just that. It's loaded up with a number of cassette profiles, including 1978's Sony CHF-90 and even a Soviet MK60 tape. The co-inventor of podcasts, Dave Weiner, is busy inventing a new social network using RSS. We link to rss.chat today. It's an invite-only server that shows off the tool, which uses RSS under the hood. Is this the cross-app comment system that we've been looking for podcast apps too? We link to the installation details today. And the image format AVIF, AVIF, is now baseline widely available, having been available in all major browsers for 30 months. We'd not recommend it for your podcast artwork quite yet, or for email, sadly, but for websites, it'll save you considerable bandwidth, and we're switching over to it. In People News, Matt Kellogg has joined Surfer Network, a premium audio advertising marketplace. As the company's SVP of North American Strategy, he joins from Soundstack. And at the BBC, Thomas Curry will become the Creative Development Director of Podcasts for BBC Studios Audio. Ian Tate will be Head of Production. Curry will be expanding BBC Studios' network of co-productions and production partnerships, working closely with the company's commercial and editorial teams. And in podcast news, with Airwave, the Box of Oddities delves into this strange and mysterious aspects of our world, exploring topics ranging from bizarre medical conditions to unsolved mysteries. Today, could an ordinary clay pot be the oldest recording device in human history? There's a podcast for everybody, just like The Wash Exchange, which is a weekly podcast for car wash operators. It's hosted by Blair Woodcock, the owner of Australian car wash chemical manufacturer Slipstream Pro. The show contains operator interviews, industry veterans, and where car washing is heading. The latest features Greg Cummins, one of Australia's first car wash owners, on 30 years in the industry and the drought that nearly ended it. And you have to be consistent and you have to be genuine in your subscription promotion. That's according to Eric Barnett of Supporting Cast in this week's Podbiz. He shares how podcasters and networks can build recurring revenue through paid subscriptions. And this podcast is sponsored by Spots Now. Do you want to fill more ad space? Spots Now's AI search routes advertisers to the right shows. With more and more advertisers using its campaign planning tools, you can be there at the moment they're planning. Set up a free account and requests come straight to your ad sales inbox. A new source of business with no work chasing it. You can book a demo today at spotsnow.io or click on that link you'll find in our show notes. And that's the latest from our newsletter. To read all the stories and subscribe for free, we're at podnews.net.